All right, let's talk about something that pretty much every fast-moving company struggles with, right? How do you let your teams run fast, be innovative, be agile, but without the budget just completely flying off the rails? Well, that's where Lean Budget Guardrails come in. They're a system designed to give you the best of both worlds. So let's dive in.
I absolutely love this quote because it just nails the whole idea. Think about it for a second. The guardrails on a highway, they don't actually slow you down, do they? Nope. In fact, they do the opposite. They give you the confidence to go fast because you know there's a safety net. They keep you on the road, pointed toward where you're trying to go.
And that's really the million-dollar question for businesses, isn't it? We all want that startup speed, that ability to just pivot on a dime and respond to what the market is doing. But we also need the financial discipline of a grown-up company. So how do you get both? Well, the answer is you've got to build the right kind of guardrails for your budget so you don't drive it right off a cliff. Okay, let's hit the road. We're going to get on this budgeting superhighway and explore a totally new way of thinking about this stuff. One that leaves all those old, slow, traffic-jammed back roads in the dust.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, the official SAFE definition calls them the policies and practices for budgeting, spending, and governance for a portfolio. But let's break that down. Think of them as the rules of the road for your spending. They're not some super detailed turn-by-turn instruction manual. Not at all. They're the high-level guidelines that give your teams the freedom to navigate while making sure the whole portfolio, the whole convoy, is heading in the right strategic direction.
And this slide really shows you the night and day difference. Over on the left, that's the old world, right? Slow, annual budgets, funding project by project. It's just bogged down in bureaucracy, creates a ton of overhead, and it absolutely crushes innovation. But on the right, that's the lean approach. It's responsive, it's accountable, and here's the kicker. It actually empowers the teams doing the work. It is literally the difference between being stuck in rush hour traffic and just cruising in the fast lane. So to stay on this superhighway and not end up in a ditch, SAFE gives us 4 specific guardrails. What's cool is how they're broken down. 2 of them are quantitative. They're all about the numbers, and the other 2 are qualitative. They're more about process and people. We're going to break down every single one. First up, our first guardrail. This one is quantitative, and it helps us answer a really, really critical question. Are we spending our money on the right kinds of things to make sure we even have a future? The whole concept here is actually pretty simple. Instead of just having one giant bucket of money, you're intentionally carving it up and allocating it across these different horizons. Horizon 1, that's your bread and butter, your core business right now. Horizon 2 is for those emerging opportunities, the things that could be your next big hit. Horizon 3, that's for the wild ideas, the really new, riskier stuff you need to evaluate. And hey, let's not forget Horizon 0. That's about proactively retiring old systems to free up cash and people for the new stuff. So why do all this? Well, the goal is to avoid what they call becoming a Horizon 1 company. You know the type. An organization that is so focused on squeezing every last drop of value out of today that they totally ignore the innovations that are going to keep them relevant tomorrow. This guardrail forces you, in a good way, to actually invest in your own future. All right, on to our second quantitative guardrail. So if the first one was about what you spend money on, this one is all about balancing the types of work your teams are actually doing day to day. And oh man, this is a conflict as old as time, isn't it? You've got product management, and they are laser focused on shipping new features that customers are screaming for right now. But then you've got the architects, and they're worried about the long-term health of the system, that architectural runway, so you can even keep building new things a year from now without the whole thing collapsing. So, who wins this tug of war? Well, guess what? You don't have to choose. That's the beauty of this. Instead, you make a conscious, explicit decision as a team to allocate a certain percentage of your capacity to each kind of work. Maybe you say, okay, 60% for new features, 25% for enablers to build our runway, and 15% to pay down that pesky tech debt. Boom, the tug of war is over because it's now a collaborative planning decision. And here's what that can look like in the real world with some actual policies. You agree on those percentages together at the start of each PI, so everyone's aligned. You make it clear that product management has the authority to prioritize the backlog, so there's no confusion. And you all agree that every piece of work, whether it's a feature or tech debt, gets prioritized based on economics. That way, you know every decision is serving the business. Okay, we've covered the 2 guardrails that are all about the numbers. Now we're shifting gears. The next 2 are qualitative. They're less about percentages and spreadsheets and more about process, good governance, and getting the right people involved. So,
Guardrail number 3. This one's all about making sure that while teams have a ton of autonomy for their day-to-day stuff, the really, really big bets, the huge initiatives, get the right level of review. You want to empower your teams, for sure, but you don't want to create total chaos.
The process is basically like a simple filter. When a big idea, what SAFe calls an epic, comes along, you just ask one simple question. Does its estimated cost or effort go over a threshold that we've already agreed on? If the answer is no, great. The team can just run with it, manage it themselves. But if the answer is yes, then it flows up to the portfolio level for a proper review. It's just a smart filter to make sure the right eyeballs are on the biggest investments.
And that brings us to our final guardrail. And this one might just be the most important of them all, because it's all about people. It's about making sure the business stakeholders are continuously looped in, not just showing up at the kickoff and then again at the launch party.
See, business owners here are not just passive spectators in the stands. They are active players on the field. During PI planning, they're right there helping to shape the vision and assign actual business value to the objectives. And then, during the Inspect and Adopt workshops, they're giving that crucial real-time feedback on what got built. They are the ultimate human guardrail, making sure that what's being developed is actually solving a real business problem.
So let's pull all this together. What's the big takeaway from these 4 guardrails? Really, it all comes down to this idea of finding freedom within a framework. Because when you put these guardrails in place, you solve this fundamental tension that just plagues most companies. You're always told you have to choose. You can either move fast, or you can be fiscally responsible. Be a nimble little startup, or be a disciplined enterprise. But the whole point of this framework is to tell you that that is a false choice. With the right structure, you absolutely can have the best of both worlds. You get that market responsiveness, that speed and agility that you need to react to your customers and actually win. And you get accountable management, that professional financial oversight that ensures you're spending money smartly and investing in your own long-term health. And this, right here, is probably the most important mindset shift to make. These guardrails aren't restrictive barriers that are designed to slow people down. No way. They are liberating structures. By giving everyone clear, simple, transparent rules of the road, you empower your teams with the autonomy and the confidence they need to move fast and get to where they need to go. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on for your own organization. When you look at your portfolio, your products, your strategy, what is the biggest financial catastrophe that putting the right guardrails in place could help you avoid? Thanks for joining this explainer.